Welcome to the desk. Let's run the numbers. Every AI business eventually hits one fork in the road that decides its whole future, and most founders walk right past it without realizing they made a choice. The fork is this: do you rent your intelligence, or do you build it? Do you pay one of the big model makers a fee every single time your app thinks, renting their brain by the use? Or do you run your own model on your own machines, paying a fortune upfront to own the factory? Both can be right. Both can be fatal. And picking wrong doesn't kill you on day one. It slowly poisons your margins until, a year in, you can't figure out why you're working this hard for this little. Let me lay both paths side by side honestly. Start with renting, because it's where almost everyone should and does begin. You sign up with a model maker, you get a key, and every time your app needs to think, you send a request to their giant model and pay a small fee. The upside is enormous and real. You start tomorrow. Zero upfront costs, no machines to buy, no engineers to hire, and you instantly get access to the smartest models on Earth, models that cost hundreds of millions to build, rented to you for pennies a call. When you have 10 customers, this is obviously, unarguably correct. You'd be insane to build a factory to serve 10 people. Renting lets you find out if anyone even wants your product before you spend a dime building infrastructure. That's not the cheap option. That's the smart option, at first. But renting has a cost that doesn't show up until you're winning, and it's the same meter I've warned about before. You pay per use, forever, and that bill scales straight up with your success. 10 customers cost pennies. 100,000 active customers, each hammering your app all day, is a compute bill that can run into serious money every month, and it never stops, never amortizes, never becomes an asset you own. You're a tenant. The rent is due every month and it grows as you grow. There's a second hidden cost too: you don't control your own engine. The model maker can raise prices, change the model's behavior overnight, slow you down, or cut you off. Your entire product quality sits in someone else's hands, and they can reach in and change it while you sleep. Renting buys you speed by selling you dependence. Now the other path, building your own. Thanks to powerful open models that anyone can download for free, you can take a capable AI, run it on machines you control, and tune it on your own data until it's sharp at your specific job. The upside is the mirror image of renting's weakness: you own the factory. Once it's running, serving one more request is just electricity and hardware you already paid for. Your cost per use drops dramatically, and at high volume it can be a fraction of what renting the same work would cost. You also own your destiny. Nobody can raise your prices, change your model, or cut you off, because it's yours. For a business doing millions of AI actions a month, that ownership can be the difference between thin margins and fat ones. This is the path that flips the economics, eventually. But eventually is doing heavy lifting, so let me be brutal about the build path's price, because it eats the dreamers alive. Running your own serious AI is genuinely hard. You need expensive specialized hardware, or you rent that hardware from a cloud and the costs creep right back up. You need real engineers, people who can keep a model running fast and reliably at scale, and those people are rare and costly. You're now responsible for uptime, speed, security, and the model breaking at 3 a.m. with no support line to call. And the open models you self-host, while excellent, are often a step behind the absolute best rented models, so you may be trading some raw quality for control. Building isn't just expensive in money. It's expensive in focus. Every hour your team spends babysitting infrastructure is an hour not spent on the product customers actually pay for. So where's the line? Here's the honest framework, and it's mostly about volume and stage. Early, with low and unpredictable usage, renting wins almost every time. The upfront cost and complexity of building can't be justified when you don't even know if the product works. You rent to learn. Then, as volume climbs and becomes predictable, the math slowly tilts. There's a crossover point, different for every business, where the monthly rent you're paying for compute starts to exceed what it would cost to run your own. Below that line, renting is cheaper and smarter. Above it, every month you keep renting, you're lighting money on fire that a factory would have saved. The operators who win watch that line obsessively, and they cross it deliberately, not by accident, and not too early. And here's the move the sharpest operators actually make, because it's not really either or. They do both on purpose. They rent the top model for the hard, rare, high-value requests where quality matters most and volume is low, letting someone else carry that infrastructure. And they build or self-host a cheaper model for the high-volume, repetitive, simpler requests where they don't need genius, they need cheap, and the sheer volume makes ownership pay. It's the same logic as a business owning its delivery trucks but renting a private jet for the occasional big trip. You own what you use constantly and predictably. You rent what you use rarely or unpredictably. The dumb version of this debate is picking a team. The smart version is routing every request to whichever option is cheapest for that specific job. So here's the scorecard. If you're early, unsure, or low volume, rent, without guilt. Building would be a vanity project that kills your focus. If you're high volume, your usage is predictable, and compute has become one of your biggest bills, do the math on building, because every month you delay is margin you're handing to your landlord. And whatever your stage, ask the question most founders never ask until it's too late. What is my cost per action on each path, today and at 10 times my current size? The build versus rent choice isn't about technology or ego. It's about owning your meter. Rent while you're learning. Build when you're scaling. And never, ever let the decision get made by default, because the default, renting forever, no matter the volume, is exactly how a growing company quietly bleeds out at the very moment it should be printing money. Build or rent isn't a philosophy, it's a number, and the number changes as you grow, so the answer has to change with it. The operators who win aren't loyal to a side. They're loyal to their margins. Next time, I'm tearing into the AI tools quietly draining your bank account through subscriptions you forgot you had. Run the numbers with me, subscribe for the next AI Money Breakdown.